Ted Jones messed with the wrong melon farmers.
Ted Jones, I also call him the eighth wonder of the real estate world.
Ted Jones, who knows, it could be...
Ted Jones?
The Ted Jones World Podcast.
Hello, and welcome to episode 3 of the Ted Jones World Podcast. I'm your host, Ted Jones. So, yes, I am wearing a pink shirt today. The past 2 episodes, that is, as if you're watching it on YouTube and you're checking out my outfits, those past 2 episodes, I was wearing black. I think I'm just going to wear plain shirts on this show, unless somebody else wants to pay me to wear one of their shirts. I'd happily do that. Hit me up on Instagram. Hit me up on Gmail. Instagram is Ted Jones World at Instagram. I guess there's not really a .com after that. I also have my executive producer here with me as always, Pat Charmel, but also my email is tedjonesworld@gmail.com. Pat, why don't you give our listeners and viewers here a little hello?
Hi, listeners and viewers.
Beautiful.
I think I'm just the producer, not the executive producer, but I'll take the executive P title.
Dude, you're definitely you're the executive, I'd say, out here.
Okay, cool.
It's just the two of us, man.
Thank you so much.
So we're both wearing a lot of hats.
I really appreciate you
got
having me on.
You got it, of course.
I have thoughts too.
All right, Pat. Thank you very much. So I just wanted to go back to the last episode. We had a bunch of talk between myself and other people, that is, about the ketchup and bread conversation, about where you should leave your condiments in your bread, where you should put your hot sauce, where you should put your ketchup after you open it. So that topic is still up for debate. Let me know, where are you putting your bread, ketchup, and hot sauce? Because it could go in the fridge, or it could go in the cabinet. And I've also heard some people putting their bread in the freezer, which I'm not cool with. So we're just going to eliminate that from the discussion. But okay, so let's get to it. In the past, I know that I have discussed the popular spicy chicken sandwich debate between Chick-fil-A and Popeyes, but guess what? McDonald's is now coming out with a spicy chicken sandwich, and that will be exciting. McDonald's has always been my favorite type of burger, but this will be exciting. So I think this is a new trend for the bigger market kind of places out there, but also don't forget about Impossible Burgers and Beyond Meat, because I was talking about that also, and the world is moving towards plant-based products, so keep an eye out for that in the future, because that will definitely be a thing. So Tekashi 6ix9ine, he actually did a song with Nicki Minaj called Fei Fei. Charmel, I know you're a big a rap fan, so you've probably heard of Fei Fei, and also the other song that he came out with, Gumbo. So his manager actually just got sentenced to 15 years in jail for a number of charges, and this guy, Tekashi 6ix9ine, this rainbow-haired rapper, has been in jail now for about 8 months, and his trial is coming up next week on September 16th, so that's going to be super exciting. And I just wanted to know, Pat, what do you think about the jail time situation for the manager? 15 years. Is that too light? Is Tekashi going to do more? What do you think on this subject here?
I just want to pronounce Fifi, just in case he's listening to this.
Oh, it's not. Yeah, it's not Fei Fei with Nicki Minaj. Fifi.
Yeah, I don't want him to.
Dude, yeah, but dude, you know what? I don't. Hopefully, he won't hear this podcast. By then, by the time he gets out, we'll be on episode 500, and hopefully, he'll be a fan by then. All right. But if not, you know what?
You dug your own grave.
So Fifi it's called Fifi.
Fifi, yeah. The manager, what, he got 15 years?
Yeah.
Tekashi 6ix9ine did, or his manager?
No,
did?
His manager just got 15 years last week, and now Tekashi's going to be sentenced on Monday, the 16th of September.
Well, Tekashi was going to go to jail, and he never went, correct?
Well, he's been in jail, but
he was in jail.
Dude, he's just been ratting on everyone. Like, literally. It's been insane. Everyone in the hip-hop community, turned an eye on him, and people who even did songs with him just really don't mess with him anymore.
It's the code of the streets. You don't snitch. Everyone knows that.
So how many years is Tekashi going to do? How many do you think?
What's his charge?
He was kidnapping charge. He also told one of his friends to shoot up Chief Keef's entourage in the middle of Times Square at 4 a.m. In April and a half ago. So that was one of the lighter things, I think, or there were a bunch of things that were around that kind of conspiracy situation.
I mean, based on the evidence you just gave me, I'd say 15 years is probably right. So.
All right, so you're not too
actually,
worried about
about
what Takashi did.
No.
All right, well that's side talk here on the Ted Jones World Podcast. Pat, thank you for chiming in there.
Yeah.
Pat giving us a lot of what we want to hear in this banter. So Meghan Markle, this is the Duchess of England. She was at the women's final, Serena versus Bianca Andreescu, the U.S. Open final, and Serena Williams lost. She lost 6-3, 7-5, and she was actually up. She was down 5-2 in the second set and came back to 5-all. Now, the Duchess of England coming to your finals match when you guys aren't even really that tight. I mean, maybe you guys are friends, but there hasn't been any pictures or any real discussion prior to this match that you guys were even friends. And for her to sit in between Serena Williams' coach and Serena Williams' mom is just mind-boggling to me, especially during a final. I remember when I played tennis and I played nowhere near the high level that Serena is playing at. I would get pissed if I was watching and my parents weren't paying attention to my match or they were talking to someone else. I cannot imagine what a finals match in the US Open would be like if this random friend of mine is sitting in between my mother and my coach. Like, who set that up? Like, PR for Meghan Markle, good job. Props to you. But PR for Serena Williams and just the thought process for Serena Williams. I'm not saying that's why she lost the match, but it's just not a good move, especially during the U.S. Open Finals. Come on. Now, also speaking of the U.S. Open Finals, on the other side, Rafael Nadal won his 19th Grand Slam, and that is very impressive. One behind Mr. Roger Federer right now for the lead of all-time Grand Slams. I'm just keeping it to sports. I wanted to discuss Antonio Brown, who actually just made the move over to the New England Patriots as if they weren't favorites to win the Super Bowl. Anyway, Antonio Brown's just been part of this nonsensical saga that's been going on for months. It almost seems like he's been trying to poke the Oakland Raiders until they were just like, all right, dude, get out of here. We just want to release you. And it seems a little sketchy. And the way Antonio Brown has been acting, now, I don't know if you guys are too familiar with this, but he got injured in terms of having a concussion really bad. About 3 years ago, he got hit on a no-look play when he was on the Steelers, and it knocked him out for a few weeks. He really couldn't play or do anything. And some of the things that he's doing, some of the way that he's talking and communicating with people just doesn't make any sense, and it's a little bit scary. I've also been watching some Hard Knocks on HBO, which has a program where they're all speaking with each other, the Oakland Raiders, and just the way that Antonio Brown is communicating with his guys. It's just weird and it seems off. And I don't want to say anything bad, about Antonio Brown besides the fact that he's acting crazy, but it seems like some of these actions and things that he's saying would point to somebody who has CTE, somebody who's not really all there, and somebody who has brain damage a little bit. So let's go to New York City stuff. Pat and I both living in Manhattan now, two young bachelors in the mix. So I wanted to talk about the real estate market and its penthouse sales. Now, as you know, if you've been in Manhattan or even Brooklyn or close to Manhattan or Brooklyn or Queens, you've noticed skyscrapers going up all over the place all the time. Cranes everywhere and buildings topping out at 70 to 80 stories. It's just insane. And luxury penthouses have been lower than they've ever been. There's more inventory than obviously ever because they're coming out with all these penthouses now. But I think one thing that would really deter me from moving into a penthouse in one of these buildings is, dude, I don't want to be up on the 75th floor. My limit's probably 30. And even there, what's the difference between floor 30 and floor 75? Well, I guess floor 75 you see over every single building in the city, but you see over the clouds. When you wake up in the morning, you don't even see anything. It's just clouds. Pat, what's the highest you'd live on? I mean, if we if we gave you a $20 million penthouse and you were forced to live in it, what's the highest floor you'd live on before you wouldn't live in the penthouse anymore?
I wouldn't put a limit on the height.
Yeah,
to
you
be
know what?
totally honest.
I take that back. Scratch that. What's the ideal floor for you in a $20 million penthouse?
I'd probably want to be able to see over most of the buildings at least.
But not
I don't have to see all of them. I mean, I don't have to be on the top floor, but if you gave me money and were like, you have to live on the top floor, I'd gladly take it.
Well, I mean, I
wouldn't
think
be like, no, bring me 5 floors down.
Right. Well, in this circumstance, you know, I think we'd both be lucky to get somebody to pay us to live on the 75th floor. But hey, we're open to it out here. But that's definitely a cause. Like, people who have this type of money are generally going to be older people who probably didn't grow up in a skyscraper when they were younger. So it's definitely a disconnect between who can really afford these apartments and who the hell wants to be up 750 feet in the air. New developments have even gone to the point where they're accepting Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin's at $10,000 right now per Bitcoin, what is a $50 million apartment going to cost 5,000 Bitcoin? How can you even really keep track of that or regulate that? Because then if Bitcoin goes up to 50,000, that it sounds like that developer got screwed, right?
Yeah, big risk.
But yeah. So accepting Bitcoin, you know, I think that they need to go through these measures, or they're not going to get these apartments sold, man. We got to get creative. So Michigan is actually the first state to ban e-cigarettes. It is about time. Excuse me, and I actually just coughed. Like, kind of ironically, I don't smoke e-cigarettes, but it's something that I do see a lot. And even high schoolers, man, even middle schoolers I see sometimes on the street, I feel like sucking down this jewel. And it's just something that we really need to get a handle of. And all states should be banning these e-cigarettes. You know, kids saying that they're safer than real cigarettes because of less nicotine or whatever. It's all crap. And this is something that these kids should be learning in school. And also, I think there are 4 things that these middle schoolers and early high schoolers should be learning right away in either 8th grade or 9th grade. The first thing is accounting and expenses. I'm going to put that in one category. Taxes, because who the hell knows how to do taxes or like how any of that stuff even works. Pay off credit card debt. You always got to be bringing your balance down to 0. Otherwise, those balances truly get out of control with the interest that they accrue. So you keep having to owe money and owe money and owe money. And the 4th thing is nutrition. It's not just nutrition with food, even though I'm pretty sure the definition of nutrition, Pat, tell me if I'm wrong, the definition of nutrition is only food and how much you intake, but just nutrition in general and understanding that a lot of things are bad for you. And in order to steer clear of the bad things, you have to be taught what's really good. So, you know, that's just something that just needs to be taken care of in school. And kids, just stay away from the e-cigarettes. So do me a favor and don't do that. So Pat and I actually have a new thing that we're going to be doing every episode. We're going to have a segment for you guys. And today the segment is called Don't Do That. Now, give me 1 second while I have a little sip of my water here. So while I do that, give me one moment here. So the first thing on my list over here, I know Pat has a couple things that he would like people to stop doing too, but let's keep the cursing down. All right? So walking on the street in New York City, there's a lot of foul-mouthed individuals that just need to keep their language at a PG or G level. There's really not a lot of room to be speaking like this. You know, there are a ton of words out there, and the F word and the S word and even the D word. You know, damn it is a curse, excuse me. So let's just keep everything to a G rating, G or PG rating. There are children around. And, you know, speaking of there being children around, I noticed that kids these days, you know, put up middle fingers and stuff in pictures and maybe during videos, but that's because they learned it from this older generation. It's not pleasant having picture of 5 people and then one person is putting up the middle finger. Like, dude, like nobody wants to see that. What kind of memory does that encapsulate? You know, Pat, they say picture's worth 1,000 words, but this, if you're putting your middle finger up, it seems like a lot more than 1,000 words.
Saying more. It's a little gauche to be an adult and have your middle finger up in a picture.
Gauche?
Yeah, like unsophisticated.
Oh,
Not
figures.
classy.
I didn't know that word too.
Exactly.
Right. So keep those middle fingers down, Pat. What else? What else you got on this? Don't do that list here.
One thing that I don't think people should do anymore. I'm sick of it, and it's harmless and it's not that big of a deal. But every time I go to a park and I see someone with a free hug sign, it really irks me, if you will. Like, it's unoriginal. First of all, when has anyone ever paid for a hug? Have you ever had any sort of monetary exchange for a hug?
No, definitely.
Or have they mostly been free for you?
Hugs are usually free for me.
So I think the sign's probably a little redundant then,
Hugs
right?
are usually free for most people, I'd say.
Yeah, I think so. So I think, and we don't need to be, the city's already dirty. We don't need to be having chest-to-chest contact with each other.
Right.
Mess around and bring swine flu back. We don't need that.
No.
So switch it up. Think of something more original.
Keeping the germs to the minimum.
Maybe say a nice sentiment to someone as free sentiments when you walk by.
Okay.
Say something nice.
Yeah.
I like your Canada Goose jacket, Amanda.
Oh. Okay, specific.
Yeah. Just no more spreading of germs. No more free hugs.
Right. Okay. Sounds interesting. So Pat just doesn't like the free hug sign, and he thinks that we should go another way with it. I agree, Pat. Those signs are definitely not the best. So I just wanted to talk about something else that was going on in the state of New York. So the state of New York has actually decided to clear 150,000 past marijuana convictions. So marijuana is actually legal in New York, and I say that with quotation marks, is that the law removes criminal penalty for anyone carrying less than 2 ounces of pot, and anyone carrying less than 1 ounce of pot will be charged a $50 ticket. So that's what I meant in the future when it will be legal. And I also have another call for the future. I was thinking about this. You know how people like log their calories and stuff for health reasons, how much they can work out and such. I think that in the not too distant future, I'm going to make this call. I'd say probably by, let's say, 2023, they'll have like a Bluetooth device that you could put in your stomach, and then it'll gauge and tell you how many calories you've eaten throughout that day on your iWatch or iPhone or some smartphone. But I think they'll do that seriously. You just swallow a blue chip, and then you can tell your calorie intake. That'd be pretty sweet. Okay, on to politics over here. The former Starbucks CEO, Howard Schultz, told supporters in a letter that he found it hard to get moderate voters' attention. So he is dropping out of the 2020 presidential election race. He was running as an independent, and independents typically have trouble gaining the nominee, whether it's either a Republican or a Democrat. That seems to be the way America votes in this country. So he did not want to risk re-electing Trump, so he is now out of the race. Now, speaking of Trump, this is quite a bit of a debacle that he had. Trump had initially tweeted that Alabama would be hit by Hurricane Dorian. And right after Donald Trump announced this on Twitter, the Alabama Weather Channel or Alabama Weather Twitter tweeted out that Alabama is absolutely not in danger. Then, a couple days later, Donald Trump did a press conference in the Oval Office showing where Dorian's path would hit. Now, if you're joining me on video, I want you to take a look at this diagram here. So, Donald Trump has drawn in with a Sharpie where he believes the winds will take Hurricane Dorian to. Like, dude, are you serious? You drew an extra oval over the forecasted hurricane destination. Like, what? One, I'm pretty sure that's illegal to doctrine, this weather report from the government's. I'm sorry, I'm at a loss for words. I just can't believe Donald Trump would take an image like this and doctor it so that the people of Alabama would be worried for no reason. And then he spent the last few days in the White House defending his point when he should be focusing on the Amazon fires and hurricane relief. But this is all changing of the environment. So this is something that needs to be addressed. Something that we can do to help. Cut down on straws, turn off the water when brushing your teeth. Let me know if you have other little hacks. Try not to use bags when you're going to lunch and such, but there are definitely a few things to do to help save the environment. There's definitely more than a few, but a few that are easy to do each day. Maybe wear your jeans more than once if they are not dirty or anything like this. There are many ways to still donate to the Hurricane Relief Fund. The Bahamas are really struggling. UNICEF, Mercy Corps, Red Cross are to name a few. I just saw Ludacris, actually, the rapper and actor. He started a website called Ludacares, and that will be donating money to the Bahamas as well. So Walmart, in other news, has announced that they will stop selling ammunition for assault-style rifles. So rifles such as an AK-47, which has been typically used in these mass shootings that we have seen numerous and hundreds of thousands of times actually in American history so far. So that is good, but Walmart will still be selling shotgun ammunition and rifle ammunition. And, to be completely blunt, this isn't enough. And for the government and the White House, or maybe it's just Donald Trump and the NRA saying that video games is really the cause of why these mass shootings are happening, how kids are getting involved. And I remember when I was in 8th grade, I used to come home every single day and play Grand Theft Auto. And I'd use the cheat codes to steal the cars and do whatever was fun in the game. But I would never bring any of that nonsense that's going on in a video game into a school. And the reason these mass shootings are happening is because kids have access to guns. And that's the only reason that it's happening. And anybody else who tells you otherwise either has financial interest in the NRA or is just very silly and not understanding that even though it's in the Constitution, it needs to be taken out. And that's an amendment that needs to be amended as soon as possible. So we need to keep fighting for that. I have a quote for you guys here, and it'll wrap it up on this time of the podcast. Pat, do you have anything to say before we wrap it up here and I give these viewers maybe an inspirational quote, I'll call it?
I think you got it covered. I'm excited to see what this quote's going to be.
Okay, cool. This is something that I've read a few times. I actually had originally heard it from a maybe not colonel. I feel bad I'm messing up his name, but excuse me, maybe a commander in the Navy. He said, if you want to change the world, make your bed. Which I thought was a very interesting and moving kind of quote, because that's the first thing you do. I mean, realistically, what do? You wake up and you get out of bed. So what would be the first thing for you to do, Charmel?
Make your bed.
Make your bed.
It's really lovely.
And I think that's a great way to start the day. So everybody watching and listening out there, thank you very much. This was episode 3. We got Pat Charmel on the headphones and microphone. And moving forward, this will be fun. Again, if you want to see me in not a solid shirt, not black, not pink, and I'll probably have a couple other colors, pay me. I'll wear your clothes. Thanks, Ted Jones World. Instagram, Ted Jones World at gmail.com. I'm out. Episode 4 on the way.